Welcome back to the weekly news roundup. These are recorded live Fridays, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you would like to catch the show, go ahead and catch it then. And we are talking today about our privacy and our security news. First up, we have Ireland. It is failing to enforce the EU big tech privacy laws. 98% of its 164 significant data protection complaints are going unresolved. This is significant because Ireland is a gateway for international companies moving into the EU, mostly because their tax structure sets up where if you as an individual company needs to collect taxes in the EU, it makes most sense to file in Ireland. And so what Ireland does, believe it or not, actually tends to wag the tail of some of EU, which is very frightening if you watch Computing Forever. Ireland is failing to apply EU's privacy laws to big tech companies. 98% of 164 significant complaints about privacy abuses are still unresolved. Google, Facebook, Apple, Microsoft, and Twitter all have European headquarters in Dublin, making Ireland's Data Protection Consumer Commission the lead EU regulator responsible for holding them to the law. But the Irish DPC has been repeatedly criticized by both privacy campaigners and other EU regulators for failing to take action. They're saying even Portugal with a tenth of their budget has gotten through more cases. Although, to be fair, I don't think that they necessarily have as much stuff there. They say that Ireland was the worst bottleneck for enforcement of EU's general data protection regulations. GDPR enforcement against big tech is paralyzed by Ireland's failure to deliver draft decisions in cross-border cases. He added, noting that the rest of the EU has to wait for Irish draft decisions before they are able to make their own actions against companies. Very interesting. So maybe if we have some giant consortium, maybe take all the power away from the bottleneck, maybe? I don't know. But very interesting to see that the privacy complaints are not actually being acted upon. That's exciting. Well, we talked about Amazon One Palm. We also talked about how government regulators were a little bit concerned about this technology and how can it be safely used, because it's not something that, like an iPhone, allegedly everything stays on your device, whereas this, it has to go into a cloud because the purpose of it is to use it across a variety of different places. Well, Amazon now allows you to use the palm print to get into Red Rocks Amphitheater over, I think, is that outside of Colorado Springs, or is it right outside of Denver? It's one of those right along. It's a really cool amphitheater, kind of built into the side of the mountain on the edge of the Rocky Mountains. And you can go in and you can now go in and pay and access everything just with Amazon's palm print. This is marking the first venue that allows you to use Amazon's palm print for their own access. Now, in this methodology, they say that the company utilizing it cannot see or collect any data. Everything is all stored directly on Microsoft, and then Amazon, not Microsoft. Everything stores on Amazon, and then Amazon will use an API to interface with the particular scanners. I still think that there's too many issues. I mean, APIs are massive leaks of information, and so I have serious questions about this. I would not be giving Amazon your palm, especially for a measly $10. Ooh, give me my $10, please. You have my entire palm print now. Is America really this stupid, or I don't know. Don't answer that question. Well, Biden's FTC pick is a privacy champion who wants limits on facial recognition. If you look at this and on the surface level, this looks like a good choice in that it looks as though somebody who will certainly help curb some of the privacy violations and things. Particularly, he is concerned about facial recognition technologies. I did go over and read his profile over at his over at the university he works at, which was Georgetown Law. So I went over there. He did found the Georgetown Law's Center on Privacy and Technology. So there's a lot in here that says I really like this choice because we need more people really focused on the privacy side of things inside government offices. However, I have something in the back of my mind, that little bug that's like, something stinks bad here. One of the things that raised a red flag for me is that this is also the same guy who acted as the judiciary consultant for several of the several of the congressional meetings. And so with that kind of thing going on, I'm a little bit more leery with this. If he's always been in academia, founding centers and doing this type of work, I'd feel a little bit better about this. But being is that this guy is also involved in subcommittees on privacy, which we know don't do anything, that tells me he might be more of a bureaucrat and less of a privacy scholar. So time will tell what goes on with this, but that's kind of my prediction. There's something going on here that's not as good, but on the surface, this looks like certainly a really good pick. So hopefully it works. It's a whole lot better than choosing Ajit Pai to lead the FCC. Talk about putting a fox right in the middle of the hen house. This one, I'm not sure if it's a good choice or a bad choice, but time will tell. And on to our feature story. Everyone will be able to clone their voice in the future. I will add, everyone will probably be able to clone somebody else's voice in the future too. So all of these new technologies are coming down, being like, I know one guy who's the investment firm that he was forced into working with because of some inheritance is like, hey, we need to have you do a voice print. So when you call us on the phone, the voice print authenticates you. No! Voice print is too easy to deep fake. It's too easy to figure out, particularly for people like those like YouTube channels and stuff. They're like, oh, all it took is 30 minutes or so of reading a script carefully. Okay. I've done like 4,000 videos on this channel. Hopefully somebody doesn't deep fake my voice. If you do, I'll be working with the Bruce Willis here. If you want to deep fake my voice, we'll work on some subscription deal. Allows me to, make money without doing anything else. Goals, residual income, talk to me. But any other purpose of using my voice, no, completely, strictly forbidden. But what this guy's going to do is you read some script, it does some really good, according to this guy, does some really good voice AI. Now, this is going to be released before too long. Some people do. Some people, of course, are trying to deepfake some people. Somewhere in here as well, Bruce Willis has licensed his image to be used as a visual deepfake in mobile phone ads in Russia. What? The deal allows him to make money without ever leaving the house, while advertising companies gets an infinitely malleable actor and notably a much younger version of Willis straight out of the Die Hard days. These sorts of visual and audio clones would accelerate the scales of economy for celebrity work, allowing them to capitalize on their fame as long as they're happy renting out the the same voice as themselves. I can't say that word apparently. Simulacrum, I guess, of themselves. So this, to me, it can be good, and I don't even know if it's really good, to be perfectly honest. If you want to, I can see applications for YouTubers that script everything quite thoroughly, writing the script, just feeding it through, and doing an audio script, although they say it is a little monotonous, and so it doesn't sound quite as dynamic as if you were to read the script themselves. But still, it has a few small applications, but the ability for abuse is so high, this should not be released into the general public. And so, very interesting article if you read through it about creating your own AI. Well, with that, if you want to help support the channel, we do have affiliates. Today we are highlighting ExpressVPN. If you need a VPN for extra security, if you need to hide your information from your ISPs or things like that, people are starting to win me over to that argument. I gotta say. But primarily I use my VPNs for extra security when I'm in coffee shops and things as I'm traveling and such. And so with this, you can use ExpressVPN. Up to 5 individual devices can be accessed at the same time, and including an individual modem. Go ahead and sign in here, click on the Get Started button, and you can get 12 months of it for $100. TLM.li/EV. TLM.li/EV. Now let's have a look at some security news. First up in security news, Apple patches the forced entry, which is the zero-day exploited by Pegasus software. So if you are really concerned about Pegasus, make sure you are updating to the latest Apple devices. This basically just goes through how the attack occurred. It was did not require anything from the user. And the latest updates. So iPhone, iPad users should install OS 14.8, iPad OS 14.8, Mac users Catalina 21.05 or Big Sur 11.6, Apple Watch 7.6.2. All of those are now mitigated against the Pegasus software. So there you have it. Next up, multiple Little Big Planet game servers shut down permanently after months of trouble. For some reason, my article did not load. Oh, well, I might have to just summarize it. Apparently, it does not like this browser. I test them on a different browser. Oh, well. So with that, I'll go ahead and explain. My apologies for the article not showing up. You can look this one up and hopefully you can read it. But what's going on here, Little Big Planet on PS3, there was a lot of user modifications that were easy to get hacked and breached. And so people were getting in there and doing that and causing some issues. Now, there was an update on, I think, the latest one, so that server is still online, but the older versions, you can no longer play it online, although you can still play local and you can still play, I guess it would be LAN. I've not played the game, so I couldn't tell you for sure. But nevertheless, they did permanently shut this game down. The take-home message here on this article is I don't want to be playing a lot of games that require the servers to stay online to play, because you could be paying money for a game that, at least a paid game, you could be paying money for a game that you just can't use after a period of time. So there you have it. Well, an unsecured database of over 60 million fitness wearable devices was discovered with no password or anything. Just land up right there. It had first names, display names, URLs, females, origin ID, time zone, what the source is. No, Fitbits, yay, source IDs. They had a whole lot of other stuff in the database as well. Tons and tons of data leaked here. This is why you do not connect your wearables. These wearables are pinging all over clouds, all over different companies, all over different places. And as they're pinging out and doing all these different things, what starts to happen is all these companies get the data, they're sharing the data, they're buying and selling the data, they're using it for their different purposes, and then they'll land in some S3 colander and leak all over the internet. And that's what happens here. And they'll get everything. They'll really get everything. This is why you don't want to use these wearable devices, and do not let them communicate with the cloud. So like, the Garmin that I use is the only model I know of which you do not have to sync up with anything to get any useful data off of it. That's why I have that one. It's a Forerunner. I think this is a Forerunner 45 if I remember. You can sync it with some device, but you do not have to. And that's the type of thing that you want to do. That way you can get useful data without anything else. And on to our feature story. Well, Walgreens did the most stupid type of thing you can do, which begs the question, can we have some degree of accountability on, the largest sites in the world for certain things? Walgreens is one of the largest sites. If you want to go ahead and get your Koofy test, get something shoved up your nose there, and then receive some responses about pass-fail into society. Well, what Walgreens was doing here with their data is when you would go in and you would set your appointments, and it would have your name, it would have where it was at, the dates, and a lot of other things. When you could confirmation emails, all these types of things. They did not have this secured with anything. Literally, you go to the website, and you may not be able to see the URL here, but you can go down to the website and get the direct link here. You just go down here, fill this in, and then literally, if you get the ID number, it is an open request. So you could literally just have a botnet go on here and scrape IDs off, get people's status, get their name, their status, their location, all these types of things. Completely insecure. And basically anybody could get in here and grab millions and millions and millions of people's Kofi data leak information. And this is why I'm not playing the Kofi game. Okay, I'm not playing the Kofi game. Sorry. No testies, no Fauci ouchies, none of it. No face diapers or Kofi catchers. We're done. We're done. I've looked at data. The data does not scare me. But this is what some of the information looks like. See the confirmation code. You can see the store number, where it's at. You can see the individual ID, where the site name, the patient ID, first name, last name, their date of birth, their phone number, their email address, their full address, everything. Complete data breach because they do not put a password on it. A simple PHP variable gives you all of the data instantly. Any response? What's going to happen to Walgreens? They're going to say sorry and pay a $200 fine to somebody, and that's going to be about it. Well, if you want to help support the channel, we do have a Subscribe Star page, subscribestar.com/SwitchedToLinux. You can help support the channel over there, keep us online, make it worth my while to do these shows. With that, guys, thank you for watching, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux. Thank you for watching this video from SwitchedToLinux. This channel would not be possible without the backing of the program supporters scrolling on the screen now. You can be a supporter at Patreon at patreon.com/TOMM or at thinklifemedia.com. I also want to thank the open source community who creates such excellent software that makes producing this show possible. Please remember to support your software communities. Thank you, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.